And we're live. Welcome to Comic Book Variant, episode, I'm not even sure what. Greatest rivalries in comic book history. Again, the music. Here's the music. And then we're cutting back to the podcast, people. I'm your host, Chase Lee.
And I'm Charles Willis.
And I'm Courtney Murphy.
And I'm Grace Emden.
So we went out of order there.
I think you confused Charles when you told him he was going.
I said he was going.
Oh.
Yeah, Courtney, Charlie, Grace. It doesn't matter.
Okay. My bad, guys. I ruin everything. Hi.
So, the idea this time was to pick out what we considered to be the greatest comic book rivalries, in our opinions, the one that we've enjoyed the most, the one that we think we get the most out of, and we have some so we each kind of picked one, and we also had some like backups and stuff like that we thought would be like fun to at least mention. But we're gonna kind of jump in straight away with Charlie, who's gonna start us off here. So Charlie,
yay, it's me.
Who do you think? What's your favorite comic book rivalry?
I'm gonna say Daredevil and Punisher.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of love for this, most because of my early interest in Punisher. And one of my first ones was Welcome Back, Frank, which is just amazing. I love it to death. It's so great. And
whenever we were living together, it was a pretty awesome book.
Yeah, it's so good. It covers so many things, which most of them I'm going to talk about today. Basically, if you've ever seen Daredevil, the comics or anything like that, or you've just seen the Netflix show, you get a pretty good idea because of who he is, because of how good the show. Honestly, the show was fantastic. It portrayed him in such a complete light, but it also wasn't. I don't know. It didn't stop itself from being entertaining as a TV show. And so we go through all of this, and you explore the character of Daredevil, and you have protagonists along the idea of Batman, but blind and penniless and a lawyer during the day instead of a playboy. Wow, DC sucks. And anyways, so Daredevil is all about how the law is enough and how he just needs to get past the seedy parts of it, like all the bad politicians and the bad judges and bad lawyers and stuff that are trying to keep all the bad guys out on the streets, and let the law do what it's meant to do, which is protect people. Everyone goes before the judge, even if he has to ninja punch a whole horde of bad guys to make it happen. But damn it, Jim, no killing. And so then there's the Punisher, who is all of the killing and none of the jail time. He's amazing. He's always been one of my favorites because he doesn't think like a hero. He is the Marvel Universe's anti-hero. He's the answer.
He's one of many of Marvel Universe's anti-heroes.
Sure, but he's the one I love. So, I mean, whatever. But basically, he solves the problem that the comic book universe, just those universes in general, have of repeated storylines and failed attempts at saving someone. And I say that specifically discussing the idea of picking up the kid as you're running down a volcano and it's exploding and there's lava coming down, and then you set him down 100 feet from where you picked him up, and you keep running and the kid's going to die. Because it's you saved a person, but for how long? These villains and these supervillains come back every time, and that's story. I get that. You have to factor in the failure of the justice system in the world, the real and the comic book world, or the hijinks of an all-powerful villain that has to come back this one more time to plot all over their heroes. They're coming back, and people get hurt or worse, become Jubilee. And so dying is also an option. That's terrible, but not as bad as Jubilee. But so you have these here where on one side you have Daredevil that is a vigilante, and he goes outside of the law to make the law happen, to make it work. And that is in itself saying how messed up the law system is, because it's showing us that it can't work. Even the biggest servant of the law in this universe, which I consider to be Daredevil, his alter ego is, and that's what he seeks is justice. He can't just sit by and be a lawyer and let it happen. He has to be a vigilante. He has to be a superhero to make what should work. And then the Punisher comes in, and they have this awesome battle in Welcome Back, Frank, which you should read, where the Punisher just gets his butt kicked. And he does this intentionally, and he's also like, I do it intentionally, but there's no way I'd be able to beat him, so it doesn't matter if I did it intentionally or not. But he sets off this like ultrasonic thing to knock out Matt Murdock, because obviously he's got super senses and all this kind of stuff, and so what would normally make a human person queasy destroys Matt Murdock. And so he kind of chains him up and gives him a gun, duct tapes a gun to his hand, and he positions the Daredevil behind him as the Punisher is about to take out a bad guy. And he's like, here's your choice. You can either kill me and stop me from killing a person, or you can not kill me and know that you could have saved someone. He's like, this is your choice. He's like, what kind of choice is that? And the Punisher's like, the choice I make every day. And so there's this awesome fight between the two of them about what it means to, make justice happen, bring about justice. I was like trying to figure out the words for it. But yeah, like they're both trying to find justice for these bad guys, for these evil, horrible things that are happening. And they're doing it completely different ways, and it's just beautiful to see their argument go back and forth across the table as they're both trying to find the truth of it. So I don't know. That's why they're my favorite, and I put it out to you.
Courtney, do you want
Do I have anything? You're wrong. You are so wrong.
I have tons to say. It's just that I don't want to sit here and hog the conversation for the next 20 minutes.
I mean, I feel stupid. No, I don't feel stupid.
I mean, if you...
I never knew about this rivalry between the two of them, and it's probably me just being extremely ignorant to the Daredevil part of the universe. So I feel very uninformed up until this opportunity. So I feel like there's a bunch of nerds that are like, oh, what did you know? Did you even know about this? But
well, you're a very outspoken DC fan. So,
yes, there is that. There is that. So beat me up, beat me over the head, educate me, Marvel. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But no, I mean, it's definitely interesting that there is a very well thought out dynamic between the two of them. I think I mentioned earlier, possibly, it's almost as if, like, the justice system, like, Matt Murdock is the quintessential, like, both of them are taking the law into their own hands, but Murdock is doing it by the book. And like you said, Punisher's not.
I think that's it. That's kind of an interesting point because, I mean, even Matt's not doing it by the book because being a vigilante by nature is outside of the law.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that Matt thinks only one part of the Courtney just disappeared.
Whoosh.
Whoosh, gone.
Crisis. Little crisis. We're good. We're good. This is why it's live, right?
No, I think it's interesting because we, like, does Matt just think that? Because I've only read a couple of Daredevil comics and a couple of Punisher stuff, and I think I've read Welcome Back, Frank, the thing you're talking about. But as far as like I know they interact a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely familiar with it. But does Matt just think that only one part of the system is broken, and that's the actual ability to bring people to justice? Oh, and Frank thinks the whole system is broken?
Frank definitely thinks the whole system is broken. He even thinks that the superheroing business is broken because, yet again, like I was talking about earlier, they bring people to jail and they're like, no killing! And,
Doesn't that
and they always break out and stuff.
Doesn't that kind of go back to Frank's origin story, if I'm incorrect or not?
Yeah, I mean, basically it was a hit happened. He was, military man, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Went to a bunch of wars and whatnot, and then he comes back to this, crime zone where, his family's caught in the crossfire, and he's just like, you know what, I'm done with this, and he's just fed up, and he goes on a, murder spree for the rest of his life.
Right, I just think that's interesting that, like, his origin story versus Daredevil's origin story, when you think about it, like, they each took completely different paths with what they were handed in a way, but they still kind of took the same path.
Yeah.
That might be an interesting commentary about when something bad happens to a child with Daredevil's Matt Murdock situation, and when something bad happens to an adult.
Right, like when obviously, like you said, when Punisher comes back from war, I mean, he's a grown man, and he's dealing with something completely different. But Matt Murdock, correct me if I'm wrong, he was born blind, right?
No, he wasn't.
No.
He
wasn't born blind? Okay.
No.
He had an accident where he, like a truck, chemicals fell off a truck and burned his eyes.
So totally
and it had the Spider-Man effect.
Yeah.
Totally Alex Mack style, right? He turns into a
Something
puddle
like
of ooze.
that. Yeah, totally Alex Mack style.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, but the idea of because they were both, like, Matt's father was killed by a hit too. Matt's family was killed by a hit. So.
That's right.
So, in a similar way, they have their worlds taken away from them. But a child could be taught, or could be idealistic and young.
Yeah.
And
perfect example, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, Daredevil should totally be called Batman. He hears with his. I mean, he sees with his ears, right? That's like. So
I think the correct term for him is Sonar Man.
Sonar Man.
And I think that would make Ghost Rider Daredevil, right?
Yeah.
Because he was a Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he sold his soul to the devil. So, just a thought.
Rewriting comic books one podcast at a time.
I'm not going to take credit for that. There's actually a Dorkly video, which I'll link down below. It's this awesome Dorkly video. It's like why Daredevil should be called Batman. It's great. No, but like, so talking about just the idea of a child being idealistic and thinking, well, a bad thing happened. If I can fix the thing, just the one thing that allowed that bad thing to happen, then maybe everything will be okay. And I need to trust in the system that's set up. Whereas, an adult may be more jaded already and want already to give up on society, and then that catalyst, just pushes him over the edge, and he's like, screw it, I'm just going to do what I think is right.
Yeah, and that's very much the dichotomy between those two characters, between Matt Murdock, who, Frank Castle, consistently is just like, yeah, that's a great idea. And that's all it is. And Murdoch's like, you just need to believe in the system. He's like, no, that doesn't work.
Well, that's interesting. So wait, did Daredevil ever run for office that you know of in the comics?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, I could obviously be mistaken, but from what I know of him, no.
Okay. But the Kingpin did, right? He like ran for mayor of New York and stuff. He might have even won, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of his thing, is that he's organized crime that has infiltrated the government, and he is the bad side of the law, the thing that the law allows to happen under its watch, type deal that he's trying to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was just thinking about it, I find it interesting that so Daredevil represents. So are you all familiar with the three estates? Of a democracy,
right.
essentially.
Yeah.
So you have the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. And Daredevil sort of is trying, I guess, not trying to replace, but like operating as an enforcer of the law, as the executive branch would. And then in his day job, he's a lawyer, so he's operating in another a second estate in the judicial. So I just thought it would be interesting if like if somebody hasn't done that storyline, they need to, where Matt Murdock runs for like Senate for New York or something like that, so that he operates in all three. I think that would be really interesting, but because right now it's like he's represented as the hero, who is represented as the executive and legislative branch, but Kingpin. I'm sorry, not executive and judicial. And Kingpin is sort of representing the legislative in a way, which is the evil. And then I guess you have the fourth estate, which is the press, right? Which I guess would be Ben Urich.
Yeah. Yeah, and his ties into that and what's going on with that. Huh. That's neat.
So yeah, I think Punisher representing anarchy versus Daredevil. The entire world of Daredevil is based on the democratic system in which we live, and Punisher's is just maybe a reaction to that, like the antithesis of that. So not only is he an anti-hero to Daredevil's heroism, but the entire story arcs of both of them are antithetical to each other's existence. Yeah,
which is really neat.
Sorry, I think I went off the deep end a little bit on that
one. Not really. I mean, it was definitely good points.
Do you know if Punisher? So obviously, Welcome Back, Frank. Daredevil is in the Punisher comic, but do you know if the Punisher ever goes over into a Daredevil comic? I'm sure he does, but like.
Yeah, they like those crossovers because of who they are and stuff, and their general proximity.
Are you familiar with any of those stories specifically? Because what I'm curious about is, in Welcome Back, Frank, they put Daredevil in an impossible situation and sort of prove that the Punisher's way of thinking is right, in a manner of speaking. But that's also a Punisher book with writers who were hired to write a Punisher book. And so in a Daredevil book or story, does it ever prove that the Punisher's way of thinking is wrong, or is he ever put?
I mean, it would have to. Yeah, it would have to be like he stops the Punisher from killing the guy and sends the guy to jail, and everything's rainbows and daisies.
I don't think anything is rainbows and daisies when it's Punisher related.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because the Daredevil beats the Punisher, there's rainbows and daisies, and he's just like flip the table, walk out, because he doesn't do that. He's not about that life.
Well, if any listeners or watchers know of a specific storyline in which the Punisher came into the Daredevil comic, I would love to know what issues that was and what the outcome was, what the story was. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Charlie, anything else you want to say? I'm gonna see if Grace and Courtney have anything else they want to add to this before we move on.
It makes
I think I'm good.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Sorry. No, Charlie, go. Go. You go first. He asked you.
No, I was saying that I didn't have anything else, and I was going to pass off to you.
Sorry, guys. It makes me want to read that Welcome Home, Frank. So.
Is that the one where he cuts out the stuff and puts it all over the tree?
No. That is a different one. I have that one too.
Okay, yeah.
That's the one where he cuts a woman's arms and legs off and sets her on fire.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I do have recurring nightmares, and one of them consists of images from Punisher novels.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
No, I really want to read it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Grace,
It's
did
so
you
good.
have anything?
No,
That was
I'm just being amused. I'm just amused listening.
Grace
At
is
this
our
point.
live viewer this evening.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't gonna stay tuned in. I have work I have to do, but I wanted to say hello at least
Hang out for
Yeah.
and hang out for a little bit. Literally hang out.
Oh, hey, look, we have viewers.
Yeah.
Realized that we have viewers, and I don't know if these viewers can access our Q&A app, but if you can, you are more than welcome to ask questions and or make comments or whatever in that app, and I should be able to see it in the app, and we can respond to you thusly.
What can I do something for a second? Because I was told to shout out, and I forgot to do this earlier. So shout out to Ryan, and Blake, and Glios. Sorry, those are my shout outs, and I'm done.
Sorry, that was my choo-choo shout out.
YouTube shout out.
All right, cool. Well, Courtney, do you want to go next? Or you want me to?
I think you should go next, probably, because mine is a little bit lighter than the philosophical like the two of y'all's is. So maybe let's just keep the.
We kind of previewed what you were going to talk about, and I don't
Mine
know if I
isn't-
would define.
I don't know. Okay. Mine isn't lighter, but maybe mine's not a philosophical question mark. I don't know. Maybe mine's a little more fun.
Fun. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will talk about mine. Okay. So what I believe to be the greatest rivalry, and most people are probably going to think this is cheap and cheating, but hopefully you'll forgive me when I explain why. Superman and Lex Luthor. It's the first great rivalry in modern day comics, and I think pretty much every rivalry that is kind of based on of like the brain versus brawn, although that's a way oversimplification of it, in comics is based off of the rivalry of Superman and Lex Luthor. And it all starts with Friedrich Nietzsche's.
Because of course that's where Superman starts.
Right.
Philosophy.
Thus spoke Zarathustra was Nietzsche's book, and it talks about the Übermensch, which roughly translates from German to English as the Overman or the Superman. And so that started there, and Nietzsche's ideal was that the Superman is something for humanity to aspire to be, is a goal for us to set. Now Nietzsche defined this very specifically as being, certain things, not letting emotion control you, being an atheist. He didn't believe in God, and he thought that religion or God was a crutch. And so that like humanity would eventually need to evolve past these certain things. And Hitler then sort of, since Nietzsche was a German philosopher, Hitler like latched on to Nietzsche's ideals, but then kind of perverted them because obviously, according to Hitler's actions, he wasn't exactly the most sane person to ever live. So he perverted this ideal of the Superman to be what the Germans were or were trying to be, and the Aryan race and everything. And that part of the reason why the Germans lost World War I and were so decimated was that their bloodline was being weakened by weaker species, the Jews and the blacks and the Catholics, and just so he perverted it to this horrible ideal of like a specific race being the master race, and becoming supermen. Well, two Jewish teenagers in the 1930s decided that they wanted to play with this idea. And the first time that they ever wrote a comic that mentioned Superman, the character of Superman was a mad scientist who was bald and was a villain. So they liked that, but they liked the name, but they sort of wanted to write more about heroic stories and heroes and that sort of stuff. So they kept the name Superman, but turned him into a hero and sort of made them everything that they wanted to be and everything they were. The ideal of two Jewish boys in the 1930s in America. I mean, immigrants in society. So they made him the ultimate immigrant of being an alien, and they essentially just took the story of Moses, who was whose world kind of was being destroyed with all the firstborns, males being killed. So, sent in a basket down the Nile to have a better life, to become a king, a prince, or a god, or whatever. So they just took that story and sort of modernized it and turned it into Superman. Well, not too long after that, Lex Luthor, which looks an awful lot like the original Superman, shows up, and he is a mad scientist and wants to take over the world and believes that he deserves to rule the world, just like Hitler and that sort of thing. So the Superman comic now takes away parodies what Hitler's trying to do with making the Superman evil, and these two Jewish boys turned Superman into the epitome of good, which first off is a really interesting thing to think about, like Superman in our society. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, but just like how there are a handful of symbols that are recognized the world over, and Superman symbol is one of them. That like almost any country can tell you that's the Superman symbol. And that's very interesting to think that if these two boys didn't create the comic, we wouldn't have that ideal of what Superman is, of what a Superman is. It would be a bad thing, because presumably we still would have won the war, but the only reference to Superman we would have had is this this German philosopher, and then Hitler. So now the idea of like somebody saying like what a Superman is would be completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I find that very interesting, and I talk about all that because I think it's a very interesting basis for the rivalry, because Lex Luthor considers himself to be the Ubermensch, the Superman. He is evolved past emotion. He believes that he knows what's right and what's best for the world, and that is for the world to be ruled by him, because he knows what's right and what's best. And then Superman, and I have a quote here of essentially the ideal of what Superman, the idealism behind Superman is that so when the public asks Superman what he wants them to do, he says, "I want you to stop looking for a great savior. Lex Luthor isn't it. I'm not it. You are. All of you. So Superman believes we already are the Ubermensch. We already are capable of the greatness. Whereas Lex Luthor believes that he is capable of it and that he can bring everybody else to that. So the idealism behind like striving as a nation and a culture, not a nation, a culture, a species to become better, and that we already are what we need to be, we just need to keep making the right choices and keep doing the right thing, versus needing, like somebody thinking you need a leader to tell you what the right thing is.
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of the basic overarching thing of why I think that they're the greatest comic book rivalry of all time. And the people who simplify it in saying that Superman, it's a brawn versus brain thing, Superman has almost quite literally had the entire knowledge of the collective galaxies downloaded into his brain from the Fortress of Solitude, and learned the entirety of human medical history in less than a minute so that he could do surgery on somebody to save their life. So stop telling me that Superman is all brawn and that like Batman could beat him because he's smarter and that sort of stuff. Like that's not that. That's just no.
The real reason that Ryan loves this character, I mean this rivalry, is highly evident in that you love Superman so much.
I do love Superman, but I also understand the there. Yeah, that pillow. Hold on, Grace. Hold it there. There we go. Yeah, there he is.
That's a thing that I did.
I made that.
So I guess, does anybody have any thoughts or things to add about that, or anything they find interesting about it? Anything they disagree with?
I honestly didn't know that origin story for Superman that you just discussed.
Oh.
Like 150%.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. And kudos to you for making me slightly respect Superman about this much more.
Man, hey, if you stay on this show long enough, I will make you, because I remember that one of the very first conversations we had was how you thought Superman sucked.
He does. Okay. I'm gonna back down. I'm gonna back off. But no. I do. I appreciate that. Like Batman and like several other characters that have been around in these universes for so long, there's a mythos and a history to them that I think a lot of people might not realize. There's a lot more thought that went into creating these characters than I think a lot of people realize sometimes, which I can wholly respect from what you just said about Superman. That I absolutely appreciate.
Well, good. I'm glad because I do have a few more things I do want to add, just because that were interesting and cool. I made some notes. That's why I'm looking down here. So, Charlie, I know you usually like to make fun of my love for these characters, so if you want me to let you loose.
Do it.
I mean, I like the idea of again, it's two heroes to themselves. Lex is a hero to himself, and Superman is a hero to himself. They're both trying to be heroes in very different ways. I mean, he's not trying to, I don't feel like Lex is trying to be a villain. He's just, he thinks he understands who he is and what his position is. And it is the leader that expects others to bow down, and the leader that picks everyone up with them. That's kind of the argument that you just posed, is to be like as simple as possible, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I think that the ultimate thing is that Superman doesn't consider himself a leader. He just does what he believes is right. I think one of my favorite quotes of his.
Yeah.
Always make fun of me for being too simplistic, but there's a wrong and there's a right in this world, and it's not that hard to tell the difference. Which, you know, people say is oversimplification of life, but is what it is. And, you know, the truth, justice, and all that other stuff, as it were. And I think so. Because I want to talk to you about that, the Lex Luthor's comment about the whole truth, justice, and the American way, which, by the way, originally it was just truth and justice. He fought for truth and justice, and then they added the American way about the same time that they added under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. So it was kind of like kind of that time whenever we were like becoming very, very patriotic and very, very like our country is the best and God chose this country and that sort of stuff. But Lex Luthor's comment on it was that truth, that's in the teller. Just calmly messaged words that very well may be nothing but carefully finessed lies. Justice belongs to the judge, who sits above those who put him there because they can't trust themselves. And the American way, it constantly evolves out of something that proves to be true and a lie. Just and more. All men are created equal. So saying that, you know, that all men are created equal is something that proves to be true and a lie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the duality of Lex to me, is that he can hold these two truths in his mind of that, like, he is the Superman, he knows what's right for the world, but then he can also sacrifice children. Like he blows up an orphanage to try and bring down Superman and make the public think less of Superman, and he's willing to sacrifice those children. But yet he's still and he can constantly do those kind of things over and over again. I think you're right. He doesn't think of himself as a villain, but he also wants to rule. He wants, like, he craves that power.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that's kind of how I see it. Is that like he is constantly he's not even fighting within himself. This evil just sort of slowly takes over every time. Yeah. So that's what I think. There's so much more to talk about with that in my mind, but I think I've rambled on enough. So unless anybody has any other comments or questions or things that they think are interesting about that, I do think it ties back a little bit with Daredevil Punisher, in that you know, Lex thinks that the system is broken and that he needs to control the system, and does whatever he thinks is right to make that system what he thinks is right, versus Superman and Daredevil operating within the systems that they already live, even though they probably have more of an ability to change it than they realize.
Well, I think that kind of goes with the Joker and Batman. It's like a rivalry of intelligence rather than, you know what I mean? Just like hatred versus, it's like, it's a game, but they're also both very intelligent. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Batman and the Joker is definitely an interesting one. I think we should mention that in, you know, unless you want to talk about that.
No, I mean, you can say whatever, you can finish your thought.
No. I mean, if we go on that tangent, we're going to be on there for a while.
Yeah.
A little bit.
That's kind of why I was just briefly touching on it, but, I mean, you can go into it if you want.
Let's end with that one. Cause that's
Yeah.
and we'll go to Courtney's
Cool.
next. Okay, so Courtney, who do you think is who's your favorite rival?
Okay, so just like Ryan, my love for a character will shine through with this in that one of my favorite rivalries, while it's a fairly new rivalry starting around the 2000s, is Catwoman versus Black Mask. And when Catwoman first got started, obviously she was just kind of a plot device for Batman, and then like old school Catwoman was clearly a plot device. Now she has developed into her own solo series, which is awesome in my opinion. And really, well, her first rival is Batman to begin, like starting off at her in the beginnings, in its infancy. But there's a few other people she has some rivalries with. Poison Ivy, the Joker. There's this serial killer ex-boyfriend who carries heads in a duffel bag. I think I mentioned in the last the last podcast that we did. But
That's
the one
romance.
I know, right? Totally, so romantic. Well, the one that sticks is Black Mask. And this happens during the Ed Brubaker run of Catwoman in the early 2000s. And basically what happens is Catwoman kind of gets brainwashed, we discover later on. We find out that she's a member of the Justice League, and the Justice League has used her to basically turn her into a superhero as opposed to a supervillain. Which is kind of like a key point to touch on for the fact that when she realizes this, she doesn't know if the choices that she's making are actually mind control or if they're really her true instincts at this point in her life. Well, she develops all these friends. When she's really young, you find out with all this big long backstory that she lost both of her parents. She has a younger sister. Her and her younger sister are separated. Instead of living a mean, terrible, hard street life like Selina does, the sister ends up becoming a nun and living with the nuns in a nunnery. And basically, I've said basically like 6 times. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. The first blow that happens is Selina steals $28 million in diamonds from Black Mask. So shame on you, Selina, because you put it there. But Black Mask, yeah. But Black Mask, to get back, literally starts to take out everyone that she cares about and everything that she cares about. She actually decides to use the money for good that she stole all these diamonds. She decides to open a community center near this local church. Her sister appears mysteriously out of nowhere because her husband, she left the nunnery, got a job offer from this mysterious client. Just pay attention to that because it's important later on. And other people start to like reappear in her life. There's this childhood friend of hers named Sylvia who she runs into. She kind of tries to manipulate Selina into performing some work, some like vigilante stuff, and Selina's like, no, I've turned over a new leaf. I'm making these choices because I care about where I live. I'm gonna protect the East End. I'm gonna protect these prostitutes and these people that kind of like took me in and took care of me when I was a kid, right? Well, long story short, Black Mask takes out. Sorry, Black Mask.
That sounds like a villain from the early 70s.
Black Man.
Black Man.
Black Mask takes out every one of the people that is close to Selina. Most famously, Black Mask. Maggie's husband's name is Simon. Spoilers if you want to read this storyline.
Before you mention it, what storyline is this?
This is, oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called. It was never in a trade paperback. It's just part of the Ed Brubaker run. I want to say it's like issues. Oh God, I can't remember. I think
that's fine. Yeah, if you want to just say like spoilers for the Ed Brubaker run.
Yeah, it's just spoilers for the Ed Brubaker run. Simon has his eyeballs removed, and Maggie has to eat the eyeballs. And that's how Black Mask tortures the people that are closest to Selina. Well, Selina finds this out. shit hits the fan. And what's interesting, and it's a really big point, is that because Catwoman has always been seen as like this foil for Batman, in that she's basically the female Batman when you think about it. She's a female Batman in the sense that, I just said something probably that I should retract. She's not the female Batman because I would be Batgirl, but let's not go there.
Well, I think that there's a lot of points. There's a lot of points toward that effect that I would bring up too. So continue.
Well, yeah, they're very similar in mentality, except that Selina will let her emotions get the best of her always, and she goes full rage monster out on Black Mask. She pushes him off of a balcony, and he falls presumably to what we think is his death.
Mm-hmm.
Haha, didn't die. A few, like, I think 30 issues later, maybe. There's a good bit of time that separates the next couple of things that happen. But Black Mask rolls up in her life again, trying to wreak havoc on it once again. At the time, she's dating this detective, this normal human guy named Slam Bradley, and he tortures Slam. And Slam literally has a lovely note tattooed into it, well, not tattooed, carved into his chest with like a screwdriver, an electric screwdriver. So Selina goes after him. And this time, unlike old Bruce Wayne, when presented the point to be able to shoot the Joker point blank, Selina does just that. She shoots Black Mask point blank in the head. And the conversation goes something to the effect of, "Oh, I know you. You'll never shoot me. You would never do that." And then Selina says something along the lines of, "You used to know me, but you don't know me anymore." And she just pulls the trigger, which I feel like is a really important turning stone for Catwoman, because I feel like at that point everybody thought they knew who Catwoman was. And I say that in the sense that, oh, well, you know, she's just the chick that steals stuff. Like, she's just a thief. You know, she's not doing anything cool, or she's not interesting, or but Ed Brubaker really is very, very, let's praise him all for making Catwoman more than just a, you know, I don't know, yes, good job, nice, I love it, that one, that's the panel.
I just went and found that. That's pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah. You should show the eyeball one if you can find that, because that one's just as good. But it's
okay.
Anyway,
I'm trying to figure out how to Google search that without like
getting creepy things. Yeah. So and then nowadays, she does kill that reincarnation of Black Mask. So that one, he does die at that point. But there is another incarnation of him that is prominent now in the like New 52 comics, and she has a squaring off with him right now. He's one of the crime bosses, and she's been given a crime family, so it's pretty cool what's happening now in that DC world too. So I hope, since it's a relatively new rivalry, that it continues and it gets to be something as cool as Lex Luthor and Superman, or, you know, Punisher and Daredevil, but it's going places.
I mean, with Gotham, the popularity of Gotham, and I think, you know, people really loving the Catwoman character and stuff like that, do you think that like a Catwoman self-contained series is something that is on the horizon?
I don't know, in all honesty. I hear a lot of flack about the Gotham series. I've enjoyed it for what it is, because I've always been of the opinion that, yes, there you go. Yeah.
There it is.
Yep, that's the bloody eyeball in the hand. See, but that's literally Ed Brubaker's storyline. I can't remember the name of the artist. I'm sorry, whoever you are, I apologize. But like, you can tell that the pen and ink is different from the first one that you just showed, which is important, in my opinion. But anyway, I don't know if Catwoman could ever have a self-contained series until, if we give her a little bit more time and they continue to create her world and her universe, and make her not just a plot device for Batman, because literally in every incarnation, minus the Halle Berry movie, I choose very,
God.
very hard to forget every day of my life. I wake up, I say, that never happened, that never happened, that never happened.
Well, I think it's fair to say that is not Catwoman.
No, it's not. It's genuinely not.
Is she
But,
named Selena Kyle in that?
Let's ask the infinite Google.
Yeah, I'll do that, and you can discuss more about it.
Nope.
Keep talking.
Guess not.
Nice to see one of your same thing, but I don't know. I think it would be really hard for that to happen because I think her mythos is still so young, and maybe it's that she's a female character and she just hasn't been given a chance. Touching on what we talked about last podcast, or maybe she hasn't been taken seriously enough.
Because her origin story has changed somewhat over the years, huh?
A little bit, vaguely. It's still pretty standard that her mom committed suicide, her dad drank himself to death, she had a sister, they were separated. After Infinite Crisis, like back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think what it was, her history was rewritten from being a prostitute to not being a prostitute anymore. Like, she didn't have that past. Like, she grew up on the streets, but she never made the choice to be a prostitute. And then, other than that, everything else has been pretty standard. There's been some important people in her life that are reoccurring, like the doctor that's really good friends with Batman, that heals all the wounds and stuff. She's in Gotham too. She's played by the chick from Firefly. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I haven't losing my nerd card here. I haven't watched Gotham yet because I was waiting for it to be on Netflix, and now it is on Netflix. so if you don't hear or see me or Grace for about a week, you'll know why.
But yeah, no,
started.
I'm not sure. I would like to see it. I really, really would, but I'd be very interested to see it happen.
Who would you think should play if you had to pick right now on the spot? I'm putting you on the spot. Who should play? And by the way, her name was not Selena Kyle. It was
Doctor something.
Patience Phillips.
Yeah. See, not the same Catwoman. Right. Okay.
So.
If I had to pick right now, me.
Yeah.
No, seriously, childhood dream. I had two childhood dreams: one to be Catwoman in a movie, and one to be a Bond girl. We'll see if either of those happens in my lifetime.
Courtney and I are both actors. Or do you consider yourself an actress still?
Actrice.
An actrice.
I don't know. I'm a
tangent.
Yeah.
I would love to play Superman as well.
Yeah.
You read lines from time to time.
We need to all just, our little group needs to make our own superhero movie where we get to play.
Yes.
Oh, I know a Wonder Woman.
Yes, you do.
I'd be happy to.
No, but in all seriousness, if I had to pick someone to play Catwoman, maybe it's because I'm a sucker for Michelle Pfeiffer, but I think Natalie Dormer would be a really good-looking Catwoman.
Natalie, I'm not. Hold on.
Chick from Game of Thrones. She plays Marjorie Tyrell. She's also in.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She also plays in Hunger Games, the newest one. She's got the shaved head going on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely when she's blonde. Definitely.
Yeah, she just looks very Michelle Pfeiffer-ish in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
I could see that.
I mean, I know people at home could probably just pull up their Google faster than I'm screen sharing here, but and then the people that
yeah. Oh, look how sexy, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
I love her.
So there you go.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see a Catwoman right there.
Yeah.
That's a sassy face. Absolutely.
Well, cool. That's an intense rivalry. It certainly is.
Yeah.
When it's funny because we talked a little bit about this before we went live, and you left out a couple of the details.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I did. I apologize.
No, it's good. No, it's good because that was
to keep you on your toes.
You were like, wait, eyeballs?
Eyeballs, yeah.
Nice. Oh.
They were really just grapes. They were in some haunted house.
Right. Yeah.
We use real eyeballs. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And real dead cats. Oh, God.
For those of you at home, Grace is referring to the fact that she works at a haunted house. She's a head makeup artist at the 13th Gate.
We have real dead cats.
For serious? Or are you kidding?
Not kidding.
Oh, that's really sad.
Real dead cats. So, yeah.
To clarify, they don't kill the cats.
Well, no, I didn't think that.
They didn't die there or caused by anything that was there, but they're definitely dead cats there. That's all I'll say.
A Catwoman.
It wasn't easy for me either. I'm a cat person, but, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They died of natural causes, and they're... I'm going to stop talking about it.
Which, by the way, that brings up a thing I want to I want to do all of us go to a haunted house and film that.
Courtney's like, nope.
Yeah. Wait. Courtney's frozen on my screen. So.
Oh, she is saying no, shaking her head no.
Perfect. That means that you're the one going. If
no!
you go, that means you have to go.
I love horror movies, but I hate haunted houses.
That's perfect, because it's best if it's someone that's terrified.
So you want me to poop my pants, is what you're telling me.
Absolutely.
I've had someone pee their pants in front of me.
No, not okay. Not okay.
Yeah.
We'll negotiate the terms of this deal.
There are a few things in my life that I do not do. I don't ride roller coasters. I don't go to haunted houses. And I'll think of a third one. I don't know.
I'm the same way.
Okay.
And I work at one.
Well, I guess unless there's anything else you want to talk about with Catwoman and
no,
Black.
not unless you guys have questions. I mean, I'm open to answer anything. But if you ain't got none, I'm cool.
Is Selena Kyle? Because I think I've read some stories where she's also rich too. Like she was an orphan, and then she somehow, I guess, she built her
Empire
through stealing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like that. Okay. So is that an across the board? Like she starts out as poor.
Yeah. She is the exact opposite of Bruce Wayne in that sense that she is dirt. She grew up in an orphanage, period. That's always the truth. And she was homeless at some points, and she was just, she had no money. She couldn't keep to a foster family or anything like that, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, as Grace brought up the other one, and I think we're running a little long on time. So we don't have to dive in as deep in this one, but we can kind of all talk about this as Batman and Joker. It's hard to not mention that rivalry when you're talking about this.
Yeah.
So, I guess my take on it is that it's pretty much just the idea of both of them also think the system is broken, but one believes in setting order, and that'll help the system, and the other believes in there's no order has been tried for long enough. We need to just blow it all up.
I have a question about this, actually, because I think there's a really distinct difference in Joker versus Batman, like, let's say, pre-modern age, even, to Joker versus Batman now. And I feel like because now we've been given backstories like Under the Red Hood and Killing Joke and all these different things where you kind of start to be given a glimmer of an origin story of the Joker. Because before that, there wasn't any origin story. He was just this crazy person who was doing these terrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's interesting. I think that's an interesting difference between those two eras. It kind of says something. It says something about how, like, in our day and age, it's almost like we need to know why he's making these decisions and doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, it was almost like these people that are probably riddled by war and, you know, all these horrible things that are happening around them in the world. We're like, no, these terrible things just happen. Sometimes there's really not a reason.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. We as a culture now, and you see that across the board, is that
Absolutely.
Like, there's a reason for evil and bad things, and maybe before it was just like, no, it just is. You know?
Yeah. I've always found that really interesting because, like, Jack Nicholson Joker, he's just crazy, 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 obviously.
Right.
And then you look at someone like Heath Ledger's Joker, and it's like you almost want to know why he is the way he is. Like, you almost need to know, like, what made him, you know, cut his cheeks open and, you know, have all this crazy makeup all over his face and everything. So.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Charlie, what is your take on it?
I got distracted by a little kitty cat. I really enjoy the Joker and Batman because it's almost like they're a couple of kids, and you catch that every now and then. Going back to the Batman as a Ute who was hurt. And the Joker is so childlike in so many iterations and things. He's so playful and jovial, and he just wants to have fun, but his fun is evil to us. And so there's like this back and forth, this wonderful back and forth, like almost between friends over and over and over again. And it's like, you know, they need each other. I forget which one it is. You know, it's been used so many times of like, you know, I don't know what I would do without you type deal.
Yeah.
Coming from the Joker.
The end of the Dark Knight talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, there's the, you know, again, spoilers for this, but if you haven't read that, like, stop this and go read that. The Joker is just killing all of these people constantly and just keeps breaking out of jail and keeps breaking.
Yeah.
Batman has never crossed that line of killing, and the whole time he's sort of in this Batman is in this inner monologue of saying that, like, I think I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to cross the line. I'm gonna have to, you know, do something I've never done before. I can't, you know, whatever. He never specifically says it, but he talks about how he's gonna do it, and he finally corners the Joker down. I think it's in a funhouse, actually, and breaks the Joker's neck, but not enough to kill him, just enough to paralyze him from the neck down. And so when Batman was saying he was going to cross the line, he wasn't even. It was like he almost wasn't even entertaining. Like, I will never kill him, but you know, there was another line that he wasn't willing to cross, which was like paralyzing him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like the idea of him. He found a way to not cross that line, and the Joker like laying there paralyzed and realizes, you know, whatever, he hasn't killed him and what Batman's done, and he, you know, is essentially, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but is essentially just like calls him a wuss, and it's like, you know, you're just too much of a wuss to do what you need to do, and then the Joker just breaks the rest of his own neck and kills himself.
What?
So
that's legit.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's a situation where the Joker knows he's going to be found essentially murdered, and that everyone's going to blame Batman for killing the Joker anyway. So.
Do they use a magic time bullet to bring him back to life too?
No, well, then
neck brace.
Just kidding.
Boom.
Because I'm pretty sure Superman and Batman both come back via magic time bullet.
Yeah. Because get wrecked.
Well, you know, I mean,
What is good plot and writing whenever you have magic time bullets?
Superman didn't die. He just went into a Kryptonian coma. It's very complicated.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. New 52 fixed all this, right? It's over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Grace, did you have anything you wanted to say about the rivalry?
No.
How do you like it?
No, I'm okay. I'm sorry. I'm kind of in my own world, working on my site right now, so.
It's cool. You just
Sorry.
here to hang out.
I agree with everything you said, sweetie.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like you said earlier, I think it's too long of a debate to go into right now. I think y'all made good points. I think it's a cool rivalry. Charlie, you made some good points about it. Like the good versus evil. So, I don't know. I agree. I'm just kind of enjoying listening right now.
All right. Well, that kind of that does it for me. That's all I have. I know that we have some really interesting ideas coming up in the future. We've been doing Makeup Mondays. So if you want, you can check out our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to it. And we've been doing Makeup Mondays on Comic Book Variant in partnership with Grace's website, Art Gracefully. But what she's working on right now is actually her site and all of her stuff so that we can start doing Makeup Mondays on Art Gracefully. And then we're going to take what we do on Makeup Mondays and do a special little project with it. I'm not going to spoil what it is. We're still working on it, but it should be really cool, a really neat way to bring Comic Book Variant to the next level as far as it's concerned. So yeah, if you want, you can check out our website at comicbookvariant.com or comicbookvariant.net. Both goes to the same site. You can email us at comicbookvariant@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Search Comic Book Variant. You can leave us a voicemail at 225-443-0228. And you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Chase Lee. I don't know if y'all want to give off y'all's Twitter handles.
You can follow me at Art Gracefully.
You can follow me and my old stuff. I haven't posted anything in a long time, but Courtney Murphy actually is my Twitter handle. I discovered that this week.
I was about to say, you gave another one last week.
This is really, I haven't used it. But I'm going to try to. I really am. Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this on iTunes, please make sure you subscribe to our channel on iTunes and give us a rating and a review. That's really helpful to us. That would be awesome. And we'll be putting out more content shortly. And actually, it's going to be a consistent thing now. Every Monday, a Makeup Monday will come out, and every Wednesday, a podcast will come out. And then as we make more content, we'll have more, each day we'll have a different content. So, Courtney, thank you very much for joining us and talking about Catwoman and Black Mask. Charlie, thank you very much for your information on Punisher and Daredevil. And Grace, thank you for being my beautiful girlfriend. And
my pleasure.
And once again, I'm your host, Chase Lee, and this is Comic Book Variant, the podcast that gives you the same comic book related info you could get anywhere else. Just
with a different
cover.
That's never gonna work.
I think Charlie was the only one that forgot this time.
Bye.
It worked.
Woo!